Hello everyone, welcome to today's Novedge webinar, Creo Collaboration Extensions, powered by Unite. Creo's Unite technology makes it easy to work with CAD models created in other applications and saves you considerable time. Find out how to realize the potential of multi-CAD collaborations with Unite. Emily Pinto, our presenter, is an application engineer working with PTC's Virtual Center of Excellence. Now let me show you a typical product page at Novedge. This is where you can find PTC Creo in all its different forms. Novedge is changing the way designers purchase 3D software, offering more choices, more freedom, best advice, and faster service. And now let me introduce you to Emily by switching the screen. Take it away, Emily. All right, Emily, we can see your screen now.
Okay, thank you. So hi everyone, I'm Emily Pinto. I work for PTC in the Virtual Center of Excellence, and today we're going to talk about Creo's Unite technology. This is a technology inside of Creo Parametric that's all about dealing with non-native data. It gives improved import of non-native data, CAD models. It also gives you the ability to open that data in its native format inside of Creo, a save as capability to save models from many different CAD platforms that have been brought into Creo. You can actually save all of that as a non-native format. So you can save it as a SolidWorks or a CATIA or NX file. So you could send that to a vendor, supplier, or customer. It also allows us to do automatic updates if we're referencing models or surfaces, any geometry from a model created in another platform that's not native to Creo. We can actually update our whole assembly, all of our models and parts into the model, right? So you don't have to do rework if there's been a new model created or changes made to the original. So that's a little bit of an overview. We are going to talk today about a couple of challenges with this tool, why it was, not challenges with this tool, sorry, challenges we saw in the industry that this tool aims to address, right? The reason that this was created, as well as some of the capabilities and a short demonstration of what this looks like inside of Creo. So the challenges we saw in the industry, right, a need for a tool that does these things. One of those is a big issue with collaboration. It's really difficult to collaborate and work with people who use different CAD systems. When you're moving back and forth between CAD platforms, it can really be challenging to edit, especially tedious to manage, and it can be very difficult to update non-native data. But we need to be able to do that, otherwise we're losing productivity whenever we work with an outside, an outside platform, and that happens all the time. So this really needed to be addressed, that you have to redo all of this work every time there's an update or a change or you send it back and forth. We see that there's a big challenge with disparate tools and data. When you're using all of these different platforms, it can be difficult to manage and send. Things aren't connected, so every time you send something, it breaks that digital thread and it loses all of the connection that it had to the work done previously. It can also be difficult to incorporate many different types of CAD data into the same assembly, into the same model, same part, whatever it might be. It can be hard to blend those together and to make them work off of each other as if they had all been created natively and are flexible enough to be changed and incorporated into the native assembly. This really results in costly and delayed projects. We see a lot of times companies who work back and forth with vendors or suppliers or customers who have all these different CAD sources. Tedious things come up, errors come up when you have to accidentally do another design iteration or run another cycle. That means more rework to be done each time, and so this can very easily cause over budget and delayed projects. So our solution was Creo Unite. This is a technology inside of Creo that allows you to consolidate all of the different types of CAD systems and CAD sources, and then collaborate with people who have or need non-Creo data that you have to work and incorporate into your design. You need to stay flexible. You need to be able to use what's been done already and easily make changes to them, right? So this is all that Creo Unite technology. So the first capability we have is the file import. This is traditional, or the traditional way to bring data into a CAD source, but we've had this for a while. It's been really improved. So whether it's native Creo geometry that you're importing, or it's a standard file type, IGES or something, or and maybe a non-native platform, we can bring that in and turn it into a Creo CAD object. This is the traditional way to bring things in. We also, with Unite, have the option to file open. That's really the key here, is Creo gives you options for how to work with the data. So if you open the file, you can bring it in its native format. So if you bring in a SolidWorks or an NX, you can open it in Creo without converting it into a Creo file. This means that there's not going to be any data translation errors. There's no failed geometry, no failed features. You can open it up, view it very quickly, no long load times. It doesn't contain the feature info from the source content. That's something that the industry just, its technology's not there yet. But it does allow you to keep that link to the original file, the original source file. And then if there's updates made, you can push those into your model. So the file open doesn't limit you in how you can work with it in your assembly. You can assemble it, you can reference the surfaces, you can work off of the geometry, but it stays in that native format, so you don't have to redo any work if you don't need to, right? We have the save as feature. This is really nice when you have a model, whether it's a Creo model, a conglomeration of a bunch of different CAD sources that have made up some kind of assembly. You can choose how you want to save that. So just like you would save it as a Creo part, you could save it as a step file or an IGES, some kind of standard file. You can also save it as a CATIA model, an NX file, a SolidWorks assembly, right? These are the options that you have then to work with people who might need that data in that format. So then when they bring it into their system, it still won't have that feature tree, but it's going to eliminate any failed geometry problems that they might have, so they can just get up and running, start working with it, evaluate it. And again, then you can send that link so that it's connected. We do have automatic updates available. So if there's a file that's made in a different source and it's brought into Creo, you can have any changes made in that source file be pushed into your Creo model. Now, if you have Creo parts and features and different models that are referencing that non-native geometry, those would update as well. So everything would update. We're actually going to see an example of this in the demo, but it's very nice because you don't have to re-import any kind of a model when changes are made. You don't even have to redo the changes in Creo. You can simply have them update automatically. Okay, so hopefully, this is making a lot of sense to everybody, right? The goals of this technology and what kind of time it can save you. So let's take a look at maybe what that looks like. Now, we're just going to look at our standard introductory demo today. We're going to look at a model that we're going to bring in. So this is our Creo model assembly. We have a Creo assembly here, and we want to bring in an NX file. So we look here. It was created in NX. You can see the little symbol next to it, right? Looks familiar if you're familiar with NX. But you can open it. So you'll notice that that was a very quick load time. There's no failed features. There's no risk of failed features because this was just opened. So you can actually see it over in the model tree. That symbol, right? It's not a Creo symbol. That's because this isn't a Creo model. We're just opening it and viewing it and working off of it in Creo. So we've assembled it into the assembly. We can now work off of those surfaces to start creating the models that are going to fit around it. So here you can see if we pull that up. So now we can do the regular Creo work that we would do. So we bring in a part that's going to fit around this battery. And And this is the cover for the battery, so we can assemble it off of that surface. All we have to do is say what distance we want it, and then you can reference it to that sidewall as well to say, this is how I want it to be located. So this back wall is going to line up with the back wall there. And now it fits over that battery. But the thing about this is that battery has features that maybe change from product to product. There's been updates, there's been changes. We weren't sure exactly what it was going to look like. So now that we have it, we can finish our Creo work. We can say, all right, let's make sure that it's going to fit perfectly. This little tab that we have up here, we need to make sure that the hole is in the right spot. And things like this, maybe they get changed often, and you want to make sure that there's design intent behind it instead of just creating the cuts, by the dimensions you think they're going to be. If you reference the surfaces, even though these surfaces are on the battery, you can reference them to make sure that cut is always going to be aligned and not redone or forgotten about later. So the copy geometry function allows us to use those surfaces that we copied in our Creo part. So you can actually go into the part file now, and we can bring in the copy geometry. So create an extrude on the top. This is just your regular Creo work, right? You're gonna create a sketch, create an offset. We're gonna use that geometry that came in, that surface here, and create an offset. Now, if you're not familiar with Creo, right, it's pretty similar to other platforms. This is our sketching environment. So you have the mini menu that you can use. You have that top menu that you can use. Start throwing on some geometry, some construction geometry here. Change the rendering. We want shaded with edges. And then we can look at our references. So here's a list of what we can reference. And we can take advantage of that to make sure that those links are always going to be maintained so that our features are aligned. So here we can create the cutout in the back, and we're going to create it off of that copy geometry that we made. It's going to be aligned with that. And then start making some edits here. So the extrude. We can also do things like forms. So this is a sheet metal part. So we have intelligence built into our sheet metal capabilities where we want a punched form. Okay, no problem, right? Creo knows what you want to do with the punched form, and it gives you the options that you would want to use. So different capabilities that are going to be much faster and easier than trying to create something from scratch. Here we can reference the back. And then create maybe a cut from here to create our punched form. So this is going to be the sketch that we'll use to create that punch. Again, this is just regular Creo work, just a little example of sheet metal and Creo. We need to make some changes here so that we can look at updates. So this is not specific to the Unite technology, what we're seeing here. This is just our Creo functionality. So cap dens, taper, for that form. Create those options. So one nice thing, if you're not used to working with Creo, we have all the easy options in the toolbar and then menu drop downs that you can see for the details, right? So you're not overwhelmed, but you can still get very nitty gritty down into the menus. So now that we're referencing, we created all these features referencing that copy geometry. That geometry was copied right from the NX model. And now if we make an update, that will change as well. So another good example of this is down here where we have the bolt holes, right? These things can move around, depending on changes made to the model. We want to make sure that the features that we use are going to always be aligned. This is something that would take a long time to redo if there's changes made. So the great thing about this is your NX model doesn't even have to be completely finished. You can start using it and referencing it, because if you assemble it and start creating the features off of it, all you have to do is update it when changes are made. If it's not finalized yet, it's not a problem. So this really assists in the collaborative, right, simultaneous design, concurrent design. Here we're going to select the edges. Here's that copy geometry. Create a dimension off of that side. Again, this is just regular Creo sketching. We're just using those references from the imported model. Sorry, it's open. It's not imported. It's the opened model. But if you did choose to import it, or you can do that at any time, it will convert it, and everything that you've made will still be there. It doesn't change it at all. It just converts it. It converts the geometry to Creo geometry. So you can switch between the two. So here, putting in fasteners. We'll just align those coincident. And so we can see that coming up. Well, let's grab the other side. And this works with Multi-CAD as well. So if you're bringing in these fasteners from, a supplier or anything like that, and it's in a neutral file format, that's not a problem, right? You can bring those in, and just like you're doing with the NX part, you can open them, show them in your assembly. You don't have to worry about failing features on bolts, because chances are you're buying those, right? You're not going to design them, so you don't have to convert them into a Creo model, because you're not going to make changes. They come standard from your supplier. So if you open those in Creo, you can incorporate them into your assembly, make it easier to understand exactly how your assembly goes together, create documentation, drawings, whatever it is, but you never have to import them, so they'll never fail. So if we save everything we have here, and we'll take a look at then what happens when you do make a change. I've been talking about those automatic updates. We saw the file open, which is very useful, right? No risk of failures. Now we're going to look at the update. So we pull in those models, we replace them right where they're being pulled from, replace them in the session here. And so those have had changes made to them. It's been updated. So when we open our assembly that has those models in it, we're going to get a notice. So we have two notifications: outdated, placement, or feature. So we can see that the surfaces that we use for that copy geometry that we used as the reference, those are no longer in the same place. So we can go through and double check to make sure that we want to accept the changes. It's not a critical, safety critical or anything like that. So you can change your controls. You can have it automatically update without telling you. And you can also have it manually update manual update with the notifications. That's what we have selected here. You can also always break that dependency if you'd like. That was one of the options. Here we can see the differences. So because we have it changed to manual update with notification, we don't have to accept it if we don't want to. We can say, hey, you made a problem. This new change you've made doesn't really work. But it looks like it does, right? When we compare the changed and outdated, it's just been moved over a little bit. So we can accept that new geometry, accept the new part. Now we can look at the other change that was made on this part. Was up at the top. We can see that the tab has moved over and gotten quite large. It's much bigger than it was before. So we can see the outdated component versus the new one. Again, right, make sure it's not safety critical. Looks good, that seems fine. So we can accept that feature as well. We can update that. So this was all I had to show today, right? It's really a process of bringing in data, how you want to work with it. Do you want to open it, or do you want to import it so that you can make changes to the model? That's definitely something else worth looking into. We have in Creo the capability to edit this data once it's in Creo. So even though it's maybe solid, it doesn't have any information about how it was built, you can still take it and use our flexible modeling tool to identify that geometry that you have in your design window and say, this is a round, I want to delete it, or this is a cut, I want to expand it or move it or translate. So we do have that direct editing capability that works just as well on non-native data as it does on Creo models. So that's definitely something that will be maybe the next step after Unite in the design process, right? You have Unite, you're able to work with the data coming in, going out as you need to, as works best for your process. So you're minimizing rework, minimizing tedious, reconstruction. And then the next step would be, well, if you need to edit that data, we have tools for that as well. So
thank you so much.
Today, I do want to circle back around and talk about what this means. So, okay, this is a wonderful technology. It looks really nice, but what does it do for your company, right? So the enhanced collaboration is one thing that we hear from customers. To be able to open versus import common data formats, you're able to save time wherever possible, and then you're still able to import it. So if you don't think you need to make changes, open it, don't waste any time reconstructing anything. Then when you need to decide, oh, maybe we do need to make a change, you can import it and no work is lost, there's no issue. Then you can decide if you need to save as. If you're sending this off to someone else, save time on their end. They don't have any failed geometry by saving it in their file format. And then we have, of course, that simple integration and update of the non-PTC CAD data. It keeps that link so that all updates can be pushed into your Creo assembly. And then that direct edit any 3D CAD data. That's really the flexible modeling tool where now you have it in here, let's make some changes. Let's not just be stuck with having to wait for the person who has the NX or the SolidWorks platform, right, make the changes for us. Let's us do it ourselves. So again, this works for a lot of different file systems. I know we only looked at the one NX model coming in today, but it would be exactly the same for SolidWorks, CATIA, right? We have options for Inventor. So we can also consolidate all of our multi-CAD data. You can bring it in, consolidate it onto one system. This is often used if your company has mergers or you're bringing in people who work on different systems. It's going to be very easy to consolidate on Creo because we have a lot of options for that. And then, of course, incorporate that multi-CAD design. Don't be stuck, don't let your designs be stuck in what function or platform you're using. That should not be the limiting factor to what you can create and what designs you can make and products you can produce. So being able to incorporate everything is really important, and being able to edit in Creo is one of those big, one of the big productivity improvements to that. You can be just as productive. So. Okay, this was all I had to share today. I can pass it back over to you, Barbara.
Thank you so much, Emily. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right, so that was short but packed with information. Thank you so much. We're sticking around a few minutes for a question, but in the meantime, I want to show you again where you can find Creo on our catalog. And this is just one page. As you see, we have a huge selection of PTC products. So visit us, and if you don't have any question quite yet, you can always call us. The phone number is on every page of our website. So it's easy to find and it's easy to talk to our experts that are online for you. Thank you again, Emily. I want to remind everybody that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted and found on YouTube. Just search for Novedge. Thank you again thank you again for joining us today, and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Yep, bye.